Do you ever feel that you're not listened to? That you're not being heard? And we all want to be heard, don't we? We all want to be listened to. Well, I've got some examples of what happens, and I've got some answers of how we can be heard, how we can be listened, and how we can use it to become the best version of ourselves. Okay? If that's of interest, take a listen.
This is Personal Development Unplugged with Paul Clough.
In simplicity, there is genius.
In simplicity, there is genius.
Just want you to know this. The answers are always hiding in plain sight. And this is for me. Well, sort of. The intention of this episode is to remind me to do something, to get out of my own way, maybe. And I think, well, let me do this. Have these words ever come from your lips? You just don't get it. Are you listening to me? Are you actually listening to me? What is it about it? What don't you understand? Why? How many times does that get said? Have you said it? Have you said it? I don't know. Or is it just me? It can't just be me, can it? Is this episode just about the things that, well, maybe. You see, maybe this is all about me. This is me sharing my personal stuff all the time now. I've decided to try to go that way more. Because I think what one person experiences, so many other people do too. So as I go through this, maybe it'll just resonate a little deeper with you. And then when we get to the solutions, because we're always going to find solutions somewhere, maybe they'll resonate too. You see, you say that out loud. You don't get it. No, you're not listening. But then there's that bloody inner voice that we have, isn't there? Where we start commenting on this, a commentary. Well, they never listen to me. Why are they never listening? Why that? Why don't they? What? Why? Fuck me. No one understands me. And why don't they? Do you get that? Ever had that? Again, or that could just be me. Maybe you don't swear. And then we get to the next bit of that internal voice with, again, where we start to share some limiting beliefs that we've come up with because of this. The things like, well, I must be fucking stupid. I must be stupid. No one's, and it's just not worth it. Not worth it. And in fact, because of that, I'm not worth it. Now, that's so general, isn't it? They're all so general. Got nothing to do with this at all, really. Because guess what? None of that is actually true, is it? Because people do listen. You're not stupid. You are worth it. So it's not true. Now, here's the problem I have. And I think it's true. When you say those sort of things to yourself, I said it before, there's only one person listening to you, and that's your unconscious mind. And by saying those things, I'm never listened to. No one understands me. I'm stupid, not worth it. It's like you're reinforcing those bloody things. And your unconscious mind, your best friend, your servant, no, not servant, your likes to serve you because it's you, says, oh, if that's what you really think, I'll find you some examples to make it seem even truer. And you do. And it just perpetuates and it just keeps going on, doesn't it? And you see, all those things are just shit questions and shit statements. Why are they shit? Well, ask yourself, how good are they working for you right now? I'll ask myself. Well, that's what I ask myself. I'm not asking you, I'm asking me. How good are they working for me when I say things like that? Even on the outside with my outside voice or that internal voice of mine. But it's not bloody working, is it? Because again, I'm not communicating. I'm not sharing what I know. It's just not helping. And it gets worse, doesn't it? I'm talking to myself, by the way. Yeah, it gets worse. Because of those type of things. This was getting to me. Because I wanted to be able to be listened to be heard. So I sat down and had a little think. And I want to share with you just a couple of ways how I'm overcoming this. So I can be heard. So I can share the things that I feel are important. And maybe people will, well, if they don't understand it, they might understand me better. And I'm going to do it in reverse order. What does that mean? Well, these bonky, shitty statements and questions we're asking ourselves. You see, we ask better questions, don't we? That would be the way. Stop asking bonky questions and be more intentional. What do you really want? Because if I'm going to say I'm never listened to, that's not really going to get me anywhere, is it? If I'm telling myself I'm stupid or not worth it, it's not going to get me anywhere. What do I really want? What's my intention? Well, if my intention's to be heard, maybe just ask myself, how can I get better at communicating? What a question. How can I say or ask things differently? Now, you can think those and you go, oh, well, maybe I could, think about what I'm going to say first. Maybe just, I don't know, maybe contemplate, pause, breathe, all that stuff. But there are better questions. And the thing is, I believe, and this is what I try to do now, is to get my little old puzzle book out, my piece of paper, my pen, and it doesn't take long. I just quietly write these type of questions down. And I'll muse, and I'll think, how? How can I say things differently? What do I want to communicate? What's my intention for communicating these things? What was my intention for saying these things? And it's because I want to get a better connection with people. I know that. And I really do want to get that connection. I do really want to share what I feel and what I think. Now, once I get that on paper, I can now really get my unconscious mind as well to think, because having written it down, it's like my internal voice. I'm looking at the words I write. Everything goes inside. And my unconscious mind can actually start to think about it too. What do I do? How could I be listened to? How can I be listened to? What can I do to be listened differently? Is it my posture? Is it my voice? Is it my, there's things which are going on which are doing things. How can I just say things differently? Maybe it's a different set of words. Maybe I've got to think about that other person. And, well, I don't like the word make, but what would make others listen to me? So how could I get others to listen to me? I've got the answers to that. And it's a bit weird. So that's the second part, but I'm not there yet. I'm still on my questions. So how can I say things differently and be understood better? And I know I'm not stupid. So how, if I was to imagine it, how would I want those things to be, those events to be? How would I like to be there? Maybe that's part of the answer in number 2 in a moment. But maybe I could learn something by just thinking how I want it to be. One thing what got me was I wrote down, is what I'm saying worth it? No, the obvious answer to that is, well, it's obviously worth it to me. But then I turned it on its head. What's it worth to the other person? Now, why should they listen? And then to get motivation, it hit me a little bit. It said, well, what would it be like? I'll say that a bit more clearly. What would it be like if I was understood, if I was seen and I was heard? What would that be like? What opportunities would it give me? How would my connection grow? And that gives me motivation to start thinking again. How can I say things differently? How can I say things in a way that it would be valuable to that other person to share something? Maybe it's just to share it of me, but to say it in a way that got them to feel what I feel, that they would actually listen to me. And that's the thing about listening to me. We go back to the second part that I thought of, which was like number one of they're not listening to me. The first part. So I've dealt with all the internal voices-ish, just got to come up with the answers. But the start is to think about it, to visualize it. But how do I get people to listen? And I ask myself the question, what about you, Cluffy? What about you? Do you really listen to others? The old 2 ears and 1 mouth came to mind. Do I really listen? That got me. Because I was more interested in me, what I had to say. I wasn't thinking about the other person that much, was I? I mean, and when I say listen, and I've talked about listening before in episodes, I can't remember which ones, but to really listen to somebody is to, and there's a not in here, not listening with half a mind on what you're going to be saying next. Knowing what you want to say and waiting for that gap, and you effectively disregard anything they've bloody said because you haven't listened to it. You just waited for a gap in their conversation to go, but this is what it should be. Now that's not listening, is it? You're still listening to yourself. By the way, this is not you, me. I'm still listening to myself when I do that. So it's really a matter of getting out of your way. This is one of the notes I made. Step out of your way. Because if you really want to be heard, maybe you just have to listen more clearly, more openly. So stop that talking to yourself of what you want to say and really listen. Because I thought about this and people say it and it makes sense to me now. If you want to be heard and listened to, become a good listener. No, fuck that. Not a good listener, become a great listener. Pay attention. Pay attention with only them, that person in mind. And what happens when you do that? Well, things happen, don't they? You begin to understand that person better. You may not agree, but at least you understand where they're coming from, maybe, because of your open mind. And I think even more importantly, and this is what you want for you, no, this is what I want for myself. They will feel understood because I want to feel understood. And if I really listen to them and they feel understood, guess what happens? In that wonderful act of rapport, they will respond. They will respond by listening to you just like you listen to them. Ooh, blimey. Isn't that the thing to do? Because it's that thing, when you really listen to somebody, you somehow get to be in their shoes. if you're really open with no thought of your own, just say to yourself, I've got time, I want to understand you. And because of that, you will then talk to them in a different way. Now, here's the thing, just a quick one, just come to my mind. Listen to yourself sometimes. Get out of your way. Just listen to yourself. And maybe you'll understand yourself better. You'll talk to yourself better. You'll ask better questions. Oh, there we go again, those questions again. And when you really listen to yourself better, who are you listening to? Your conscious mind and your unconscious mind? You're maybe thinking about the better questions you can ask yourself now because you know what your intention is, what you want when you're listening to yourself. Maybe it's that personal issue that you're going through and you need to listen to yourself openly, not have that one thing in mind, but no, I want to listen to myself, set myself some good questions so I can find some bloody great answers. And then I can try them on either with visualization, but when you visualize, try it on to see what it feels like. So see what you'll see, hear what you'll hear, and feel the bloody feelings. And if it feels good, you go, this is something I can work on. And then maybe you'll share it with somebody. And maybe when they talk, or they share it themselves with you, you'll listen better and you'll learn more. It's all about learning, isn't it? And then acting upon those learnings. And when we do that, isn't it a wonderful thing to give time to people? Just to listen. And maybe we just use it as a skill to start off with. Just want to listen. Get myself out the bloody way. It's counterintuitive. If you really want to be heard, you got to listen better to yourself. And then you become a better you. That's the thing what I thought is important about this. It's not important or as important. No, get the other way around, Cluffy. It's important to be heard, but it's not as important to be a better you. And that better you, in some ways, listening is like a selfless service. But you are going to get something in return. You're going to understand people better. You're going to maybe find things that will help you as well. Because you're really listening and you go, I never thought about that. Now that is interesting. I'll take that away with me. Maybe I don't agree with it in total, but there's something in there. Because you've listened, really listened. So that's it, really. That was me talking about me because I don't get listened to enough. It's a weird thing for someone who does a podcast. But it's always the thing. These answers are hiding in plain sight. They are for me anyway. And I just miss them sometimes. And sometimes it's just sitting down and thinking, what I want. What am I, or what don't I want to start off with? I don't, because sometimes it's difficult to know what you do want. So let's find out what I don't want. And then, if I didn't have that, what would I have instead? So I don't want to be ignored. I want to be listened to. I want to be able to share the things that are important to me. Well, to do that, I don't get a right. It's not my right to be listened to. I have to listen first. I have to give first. Because the thing is, with that act of selfless service, you say it before, you do it for no one to return at all. But you get dolloped on with wonderful things in return. It's wonderful that way. And these are just little things in life. Because what's it all about? When we really communicate with people, isn't it lovely? When we really understand somebody, isn't that lovely? Don't know why I keep saying, But I often think, and I've had it before, maybe you have. Does this resonate with you? Occasionally, it's not always, but I want to do it more. When I've really listened to somebody, I've suddenly found out something really special about them that I didn't know. And I thought, wow, you surprised me. They tell you what they're interested in, what their hobbies are, or what they've experienced in the past. You go, wow, you did that. Oh, wow. And it inspires you to do more. And all you've done is listen and ask questions of them to get more. to share. Maybe, there's bloody again. I'm going to cut that out. I can't remember what I was going to say now. But just to be there. To share experiences. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Sometimes it means just being a little bit vulnerable. That lovely word, vulnerability. But it's not. It's just listening, isn't it? And then knowing that when you share, they'll listen. It's nice to be heard. And the thing is, this is the last thing. When you are communicating in a way that people can understand it, can understand you, can understand your intention, what you're trying to share. The thing is, you get to know it better too. You do. It's always said that if you learn something, if you can share it with somebody verbally, you get to know how well you understand it. And maybe where there's some gaps that you need to look further. So you're never just blindly thinking, I know it all. You actually find, there's more to learn. Yeah. Well, that was a ramble, my friend. It was all about me. That's what a lot of these podcast episodes have been about. And I think they'll be about more now. Something, again, I'm thinking about. To remind myself, and hopefully in those reminders, to re-remind. I'll remind you of the skills that you've got too. And one of them is how to be heard. Because you've got a lot to share. I hope it made perfect sense. Well, not perfect. I hope it made sense. If it didn't, please let me know. If there's something that it sparked in you, maybe there's something that resonated, you go, I'd love to hear about it. feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. That's the email address. Only comes to me. I'm the only bugger here. And let's have a little dialogue, not a monologue. And maybe we can inspire each other and then use it to create an episode that inspires many. Wow, that is selfless service, isn't it? And we get and the thing is, we get the result too. We get more. Enjoy. Please share this. Please do share this. Again, as I said, just share what you know. But tell, if you would just tell it where you got, get the words out, where you got it from. Got it from Cluffy. There's a guy on the podcast, personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. You ought to subscribe like I have. You have subscribed, haven't you? But do share it. I mean, I know it's a big ask, and I do ask this, but what would happen if you just shared it on your social media? I heard a great episode. It's Personal Development Unplugged.com. No, it's not com. The Personal Development Unplugged podcast. Yeah, you might just learn something. That's a good thing to do. It'd be like paying it forward. Bit of selfless service. Maybe you'll be heard. Okay, my friend. Till next time, I'm going to go and get my puzzle book out again. Okay? Have fun. More fun than you can stand. And be sharing in a kind way. Bye-bye now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.